think we need to.
We're going to call the meeting to order, please. Boris, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for your word, which instructs us to pray for those in authority, and we lift before you all those around this land that are facing tough decisions, and we look to you for your wisdom and direction in the decisions that we make this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Roll call.
Counselor Johnson,
Here?
Counselor Lorenz,
Here.
Counselor Ellithorpe,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Here.
Mayor Becker is not present. We do have a quorum.
Modifications to agenda.
I move to approve the modifications to, did you have?
No, go right ahead.
No, I move to approve the modifications to the agenda as stipulated on the amended agenda format.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any questions? Doesn't look like there's any. Rita?
Counselor Ellithorpe,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The approval of consent agenda. Minutes of regular meeting, August 1st, 2019. Review and approval of accounts payable.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Okay.
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Ellithorpe,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, proclamations, communications, and appointments. Doesn't look like we have anything there. Citizen comments, special presentations. On the scheduled appearances, in order to be included on this portion of the agenda, please file the appropriate form with the city clerk no later than noon on Monday prior to the meeting. We do have thunder in the valley.
Well, we're Brothers Keepers Motorcycle Club, and we're here to present a check to Richard Nigley, the Veterans Coalition of the San Luis Valley,
Scott, right?
for $5,000.
Is it Scott, right? Would you mind stepping
Sure.
to the podium,
No
please?
problem.
Thank you very much. And if you can please state your name for the record.
I'm Scott Deacon with Brothers Keepers Motorcycle Club. We're here to, we had Thunder in the Valley back in June, and we're here to present the money that we made for the Veterans Coalition of the San Luis Valley. And we got quite a few members here. We got the president, which is Matt Cordova. Alfred Mondragon is the vice, the Kanugi brothers. We just got a lot of people here. And first of all, I wanted to thank the city of Monte Vista because you guys, I mean, there wasn't a hitch with it. Unita, Rob, the police, everything. They just helped us immensely. And then the Monte Vista Chamber of Commerce, and then our big donors, Valley-wide Health Systems, which they just, this is the second year that they supported us, Rio Grande Savings and Loan, and the historic, I got it right here, the Tourism Board, and we're the big ones, and Kanugi Farms were one of our majors. And then there was just hundreds of smaller ones. but we are humbled by all of this, and we just love doing this because I would like Richard to say a few words, but this is just, for everything they've done for us, this is what we do for them.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, in fact. The Veterans Coalition is an organization of veterans in the Valley. 10% of the Valley's population are veterans. 99.9% of the Valley's population are related to a veteran. So we're very honored to be adopted by our brothers. They are, our firemen and law enforcement are also our brothers. They know what it means to have your life on the line, and not that other people don't also, but we really appreciate. And these funds will go a long way to helping veterans. Having to drive to Denver for an exam or something, may not have gas money. Even if they're entitled to gas money, they won't get it for 3 to 6 months later. So they still have to get there, and this is a way that we can give them a token appreciation what we've been doing. If anyone is interested as a 501c3, we can accept donations, and we typically buy Safeway and City Market gift cards, usually a $50 gift card. They can use it for food because we have a lot of homeless vets or vets that are on the edge, as well as gas. So this is where the money goes. I've been doing this 7 years and started the organization out of my pocket, and it still comes out of my pocket, and I don't get paid. It's my new mission, and I will do it until I can't do it any longer. But I thank the chamber, I thank the town council, I thank each of you individually, and I especially, on behalf of the coalition, thank Brothers Keepers.
If we could have a photo op, we'd like to have you guys in it. Julie Gomez is here from Valley Wide, and if we could just gather everybody, the club and everybody, would that be okay for?
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd just like to have everybody in it, because this, without everybody here, it couldn't have happened. Probably over here, and we'll put you and Richard in front, and check, and we'll get everybody in. Come on, Julie.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're gonna be able to get unless.
Yeah, I gotta have to double up.
Do you guys wanna move over this way, like in front of these guys? Cause if you're like that, whatever's in the way, and it's gonna go in the paper.
We're gonna go in the front.
If you wanna come over here, that way you have a step for the people in the. I didn't wanna say that,
And you're gonna be in the photo, right,
but
Julie?
yes, I'm gonna get it ready here.
Mr. Vance.
Come on, join us.
What do you want to put a little ball on the cube on the camera that turns here?
Now you were
I am.
And I wanted to state one other thing to you guys, that last year we raised 2,500, this year we raised 5,000, so it doubles. So
Wow.
hopefully next year we'll raise 10,000, we'll double it again.
Awesome.
Good.
Good job.
Oh, man, the back here stood.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, we could. Let's see what everybody thinks. What's that?
Before all you guys disappear, I wanted to put in a little plug
Before everybody
for
disappears.
Thunder.
They're not
You can't hear me. They're not paying any attention. That's okay. Before you all leave, we just wanted to put in a plug for you guys, for Thunder in the Valley, for Richard Neglery and the Veterans Coalition. A lot of people don't know exactly what goes on down there. I have never seen an organization so effectively helping other people by, I won't even go into all the details, but if you go to one of their meetings, you'll see it's not just a meeting. They're actually getting the decision makers and the movers and shakers online in their meetings, and things actually get done, as opposed to, well, I won't say, as opposed to other administrative type meetings. Mr. Negley has done a phenomenal job of putting something together here that actually works, and they deserve this reward for that, and you guys are to be honored for making that presentation. But I just wanted to pass that on, because not too many people know about this. Their meetings are
Usually the third Wednesday of a month. This month it's going to be on the fourth Wednesday, but it's for women only.
very good. And that's at the
The old Grizzly Inn, the San Luis Valley Health Center.
San Luis Valley Health Center in Alamosa. So if you get an opportunity, if you're a veteran, you know a veteran, you're related to a veteran, you need to at least be there and see what goes on. I just wanted to pass that on.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, make one other announcement since the media is here. We all know about Agent Orange for veterans that were in Vietnam, and diabetes, which is rampant here in the valley, and that is a symptom of Agent Orange. Last month, after many years, there was something called the Blue Water Navy. That is Navy ships that were off the coast of Vietnam that had Navy sailors, Marines, Army, Air Force. They have been fighting, or we have been fighting, to have them recognized as being exposed to Agent Orange. The VA has always said no, that it's not true. But last month, the president signed the Blue Water Navy bill. Any veteran that might have been on one of those ships, and there is a list of the ships and the dates and times, is now presumed to have been exposed to Agent Orange. So diabetes, Parkinson's, even child birth defects are now being recognized with the VA, and this is retroactive, not necessarily all the way to the 70s, but back into at least 5 years.
Very
So,
good.
if you know of any veteran that might have been in the Vietnam War, but never set foot on the ground, therefore did not qualify, if he was on or she was on one of those ships, the government realized that when they sprayed the jungle, the water ran off the jungle into the rivers, from the rivers to the bays, from the bay to the ocean. Guess where the distilled water came from? Guess where the water came from that they washed the deck? So the government finally realized, I bet those guys and gals were exposed to Agent Orange also. So this could really help a number of veterans in the valley, because we do have a number of Blue Water Navy vets. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, these guys all deserve a round of applause.
All right, looks like we're down to citizen comments. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at the same meeting.
Margot Alexander. Hello, everybody. I just have to tell one really amazing thing is Rob and his crew and the tree trimming. That is absolutely phenomenal, and the city looks amazing. So thank you for that. The other thing is, let me think, Old Sonic, still status quo, haven't seen a bit of a change over there. It's been a while, just to mention this. And the other one is, we still have the asphalt behind Dairy Queen. So, those are my issues. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we just go down to resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, councilors. This evening, you have in front of you resolution number 2019-08. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Monte Vista referring the issue of an increase in the town's retail sales tax from the current 2% to 3% upon the sale of goods and services, City of Monte Vista to the city electorate. So the action of this resolution will refer for the electors an opportunity to pass a additional 1 cent sales tax. This is an item that we've been discussing with council, staff has for some time. This resolution includes the reasoning behind why we would need this, including the needs for additional police protection, road repairs, replacements, and upgrades, and improvements of the facilities at Sky High Park. And basically says that we find that that is adequate cause to put this in front of the electorate. I think, we've showed the council ample evidence to support this, and we hope that the council will pass this resolution this evening. The ballot title question that is on this resolution is the ballot question that will be put in front of the voters. It has been reviewed and approved by the city's bond counsel from Kutak Rock, so it is in compliance with Tabor requirements. The only part that's not in here are the pro and con statements, and those come right before it actually goes to the county clerk for the election. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. Otherwise, I would certainly request on behalf of the city that you approve this resolution this evening.
I move to approve resolution 2019-08 to issue an increase in the city's retail sales tax from 2% to 3% upon the sale of goods and services in the city of Monte Vista to the city electorate.
And I second that motion to approve resolution 2019-018, to issue an increase in the city's retail sales tax from 2% to 3% upon the sale of goods and services in the city of Monte Vista to the city electorate.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any other questions? Okay. Seeing
Count.
none?
Counselor Ellithorpe?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Also in front of you this evening is ordinance 2018-895, draft as of 8/15/2019 meeting. Ordinance 895, excuse me, can't speak this evening. So this is a little different than what you normally see in an ordinance on first reading. Part of the reason for that is the methodology here. This ordinance is designed to define the potential use of sales tax funds if they are approved by the voters. So tonight, if it's your pleasure, you'll pass this on first reading. Second reading would not occur until after the election, and assuming that the electorate passes the ballot question, if that passes, then you would have second reading of this ordinance that would be passed and approved into municipal law. This basically creates very specific descriptions of the potential uses of funds. I personally had not been aware of this methodology prior to, once again, the discussion with our bond counsel, who said, you have a specific ballot question with specific purposes, And in order to allay any confusions, you would pass an ordinance in this method so that the uses were laid out very clearly prior to an election. So that's why you see this with the big draft stamp on it. It is a document, a working document, and it will exist in passed on first reading if you choose to do that. It will exist till after the election. If the election is successful, then, as I said, we'll go forward with it. And you'll see that much of it kind of mirrors what we're talking about the resolution, but it also creates modifications to municipal code that would be necessary to enact the additional 1% of taxes. It creates specific uses that would be in Section 5, Chapter 3, Article 3, Section 50. This would create Section 5 that describes the actual uses of the taxes, and it says $400,000 per year based on current estimates. And once again, to explain to the public, you pick a number because of Tabor that probably is in excess of what you anticipate to collect in the first year. Once that's done, following the Tabor rules, as hopefully our sales tax collections increase and sales increase in the city, that amount of $400,000 will be achieved and will be exceeded over time. So it creates a very useful mechanism, but if you make a mistake on the sales tax collection, you need to rebate any amounts, in this case over $400,000 back to the taxpayers, which is a really interesting and inefficient process. So that's also upon the recommendation of our bond counsel and is a standard practice under Tabor. The city of Monte Vista is de-Bruced for additional sales tax revenues that actually happened many years ago. So this would then make us in compliance with de-Brucing with Tabor and would create the appropriate sections of municipal code. So if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer those. Otherwise, again, staff would recommend that you approve this ordinance on first reading this evening.
I move to approve on first reading draft ordinance 895 to enact a 1% sales tax increase in the city of Monte Vista for the purpose of providing for public works, street maintenance, recreation operations, police operations, and sky-high improvements and operations. Second reading will be based on the outcome of the election on November 5th, 2019.
Second.
And if you would, Counselor, on that second, if you would second the motion in full, please.
That's fine. I second the motion to, on first reading, to approve draft ordinance 895 to enact 1% sales tax increase in the city of Monte Vista for the purpose of providing for public works, street maintenance, recreation operations, police operations, and sky-high improvements and operations. Second reading will be based on the outcome of the election on November 5th, 2019.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any further questions? There's none. Seeing?
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Illithorpe?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Outstanding, thank you.
Thank you for your work on this, sir.
Contracts, agreements, and leases.
Good evening. Kind of excited to bring this to you guys. What I have, this is a modification to the agenda. I just got the information yesterday, but we did receive our bid for our 2019 street project that we've been kind of advertising as far as Dunham Street. So I did get that bid. I am happy with the bid and how it came in. So I just kind of want to first take a little history because we did things a little differently than before. So I just want to make sure everybody understands what we did and why we did what we did. So this year, council ahead and during the 2019 budget process went ahead and approved $100,000 for street improvements, and then various about $90,000 for water line improvements and $40,000 for storm drain improvements. So what I went and I talked to Forrest about is the valley has one asphalt contractor. So instead of wasting the money and going out and doing the advertisement and seeking extra bids for a project that I am 100% we were only going to get one bidder for, I went ahead and asked him permission if I could go ahead and try to sole source this. And the reason I did that is one, we only have one in the valley. There's only one contractor that supplies asphalt in the valley. Two, it also gave me the ability to do kind of what they call a design build with him. I was able to bring that contractor in from the get-go before we did the survey, before we did anything, and we got his input from the very initial part of what will make this project better for him as a contractor to do. And through him and our engineers, we were able to come up with a good document. Give you a real life example. A few years ago, we did the mill and fill over here by the high school. The footage for what we did at the high school and the footage that we're doing on Dunham is the really close to the same footage, about 25 feet difference. Okay, that was a 1-inch overlay. And that cost us $97,000. This project is a 3-inch asphalt mat, and his bid came in at $48,590. Huge difference.
Wow.
One small thing really can save us money by putting, because contractors will bid documents, when they see documents, they bid according to what they feel risk. There's things they weren't involved in, things that's risk, that adds cost. By bringing him in from the get-go, we eliminated that risk. He's doing all the blading, he's doing all the surface prep. He's allowed to use his contractor as sub for the other parts of the project, the water line, the storm sewer. So it gives him some comfort levels, and this bid is a prime example of that. So what I'd like to do is ask council to go ahead and award the 2019 street project, and I'll just go through. The total bid came in at $220,000. That includes replacing the water line on Dunham all the way down on our project, so that would go from 4th to Lariat. Replaces the main water line and all the services. It replaces about 9 storm drain inlets throughout town. We have several inlets that the pipes aren't actually attached to, so they just pool water. So we're gonna fix, not all of them, but 9 of them. And then of course, the paving and all the sub base and everything that goes with that, for a grand total of $220,000. Council approved in the 2019 budget. For street repair, $100,000, for storm drain, $40,000, and for the water line, $90,000, for a grand total of $230,000. Based on what was approved in 2019, we have $10,000 left out of those line items for any contingencies that may come up. So I think we got a really good deal, and I'm really hoping council feels the same and is willing to approve it. Contractor can get started September. And that's why I'm bringing it to you now.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great.
Best to have things started before it gets cold, right?
Well, the idea is to have it done before November.
Wow.
So water line installation, storm drain, and paving all done before November. So time, I mean, we're running up against that winter window, so time is of the essence. But I think it's a really good deal on these projects. Like I said, to go through the normal one, we would waste money on advertisement for what really doesn't exist. I mean, we advertise
Time as well.
Yeah, and, so if council's okay with that, like I said, a little different process than what's normally followed, but there is simply no other contractors in the valley, and the quantity that we have for this project, based on the money that I was assuming, we're not going to get an out-of-valley contractor to mobilize it. So, I mean, just to give you an idea, mobilization for a valley contractor in this particular case was $15,500. You could probably double to triple that to bring somebody in from Salida or, you know, Alamosa, or not Alamosa, but Pueblo or anywhere else. So most of those funds would have been ate up in that one line item, which just is them coming to this area, so.
So we need a motion for that,
I just wanted to clarify something just
Sure.
very briefly. I know the answer to this, but I just wanted it clarified. We are talking, the water lines and everything go all the way to Lariat.
The water
But
line
the-
doesn't go all the way to Lariat, right there where the ditch crosses. There's a fire hydrant just this side of the ditch. It's on the north side of the ditch. That's where the water line stops. So we would pick up right there at Fourth, put a new valve in, come down, and then every one of those homes along that corridor will have a brand new service line to their curb stop.
Okay, and the paving goes to Fourth. We're not talking about new paving.
No.
Yeah.
No, this is taking a dirt street now and turning it from dirt to asphalt, which when we do our HUTF, we'll be able to change that classification. And actually from, not this next year, but the year after, we'll start collecting more money from HUTF.
Okay,
So
so,
it's a
so the pavement
benefit.
does, you're saying the
Pavement
pavement,
gets you more money per lane mile versus dirt.
but the pavement does, it goes to Fourth,
Ties into Fourth.
But
It
not-
ties into Lariat,
yeah,
yeah,
okay,
So it's from 4th to 6th.
yes, yes, sir.
all right.
I think that's,
And that's also the route that we use when Stampede and when we have the parades.
the detour.
That's the detour route. And that's one of the reasons why Forrest suggested that would be the first road we start, because those poor residents, during Stampede, they eat a ton of dust. And the idea, as long as budget allows and council, we do a good project, you guys are happy with the way it comes out, continue to fund those, we can continue to do those projects. We have the initial survey, that was the hard part. Everything from here on out should really be very similar to that one, so we now have cost estimates, we kind of have the same thing, so we can do a better job of budgeting and make sure we have things moving forward. So, and if you've been here, those people that live along that corridor, anybody that lives on the dirt roads, they'd like to see their roads paved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amen.
You know, you go down any one of those roads, after a winter storm, after a few days, or even a rainstorm, and there's just water
Right,
everywhere.
and we're not gonna have enough money in this to do the whole, what I call the whole streetscape, sidewalk, curb gutter, storm drain, all of that. So this is a 24-foot mat, 2 lanes, and then totally graded so it drains. And it also gives us enough room that as we get more money, or as we get the dirt roads paved, we can then come back and do a project where we put in the curb and gutter, put in the storm drains, we'll have one cut for inlets and stuff like that on the mat, and then we can just cap everything and we have a complete 34-foot wide road. And nobody's really impacted. Don't have to go back in there and redo the water lines. They're already done, they're good for the next 20, 25 years. We're good.
sounds very efficient to me.
It's as good as we can do with the monies we have.
Right.
And you do that extremely well. I
Try
just
to.
want
I
to
really
repeat
try
that.
to.
I know you keep hearing this, but appreciate your work on that and figuring out a way out of somewhere to make it all fit in a budget. So appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you.
I move that we award the bid for the Dunham Street project as described by Mr. Vance.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Do we need to have the total on there?
Yes, please.
Bid total 220,000.
Okay.
That's a low.
Amend that.
Okay, I'd like to amend that motion to award the bid for the Dunham Street project for
$20,000
$220,000
plus a $10,000 contingency.
plus a $10,000 contingency.
Yes, ma'am.
And I second the motion as revised.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any questions?
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Elmthorpe,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good evening again. So, Counselors, the first thing from my report tonight, which is not in your packet, is I would like you all to dig out your calendars. Not kidding, no. So, Tuesday, September 10th, at 6 p.m., staff would like to hold a budget meeting, a budget workshop with the council.
At 6?
6 p.m. So just to give you an update on the current city budget process, our finance director has done a really good job of transitioning into getting that budget moving forward. All the department heads have their draft budget sheets, and we'll be having staff budget meetings next week with a follow-up the following week with Public Works and Police Department. They have the largest and most complicated budgets of any departments. Rob has the great joy of not only having a general fund budget, but having the two enterprise budgets. A couple things I'll highlight from management perspective at this point regarding the budgets. We intend to bring you a draft that is in the black. Even though, as you all know, our general fund balance has increased better than we projected at the start of this year's budget. We hope that actually at the end of this year and then the following fiscal year that we can achieve a general fund balance of $1 million. That's been a goal since I've been here, and it's been a long and winding road to get there, but we're about there. Now, you know, philosophically, you look at that and say, wow, that sounds like a lot of money. And it's not. We just awarded, how many linear feet is that paving job? Do you remember, Rob? So, that's it roughly. I'm just going to round because it's fun, and the finance director's not here tonight to correct me. $250,000 for 1,600 feet. Now it's water, sewer, and paving. But one of the biggest concerns that we've had over the years is our ability to deal with emergencies. And everyone's like, well, FEMA can come in and help you, and the state of Colorado come in and help you. And I think, as was alluded to with the veterans this evening, yes, they will come to help you, but the funds come very slowly. You could be 18 months after dealing with a disaster before the feds or the state shows up with any funds. So having a cushion in the general fund to deal with emergencies is very, very important. And I'm glad to be able to say that through the diligence of staff and the city councils, we've been able to move in that direction. So what does that mean from a reality standpoint from the budget? I think the management team is probably tired of me saying this for the third time at least today, But essentially what it means is that we've adjusted for inflation. Now, 2% is the current rate, 1.89, whatever, depends on whose index you like, but we're looking at 2% on durable goods and those kind of things. You know, we did, council did approve a wage increase last year, of which we implemented half. At this point, the budget you'll see will not have the second half implementation. We're taking a very cautious approach, and we will see come July where the city's at. I think we are in good stead, but you know, you don't spend a fund balance for day-to-day operations if you can avoid it. Things break, things go wrong. There's disasters, there's emergencies, and yeah, you know, we hope we don't have any of those, but things do break and things need to get fixed. And so having that flexibility is highly important. It also means that the budget itself will not have really anything new as it'll be presented to you in draft. There's not anything particularly new or exciting to it. You know, we're down to doing the work and getting the brass tacks done, and I really want to applaud Rob for, you know, making a paving project work. It's very difficult for us. Kind of the second major one that we had in the last couple of years, the other one was the prospect overlay. And this is so much more cost efficient. Not only you look at the same distance, but 3 inches of overlay versus an inch. So, you know, he's done a really good job with that. We had a really good meeting today with the engineering team to talk about the way forward with wastewater and water master planning, and that will be part of what's in our budget proposals for the enterprises for this coming year. 2008 was the last time we had master plans for those, and that's kind of aged. Technology's changed, the world's changed, costs have changed, and our approach to things have changed. I think that going back to this paving project, it's a very innovative way to approach it. Our code does allow, under our purchasing policy, for me as a purchasing officer to make that kind of decision based upon known facts. And so we look forward to more of those collaborative kind of things. And these master plans will help lay the groundwork for us moving forward with things like GIS. You know, we started out with some GIS with our well systems. It's really simple, right? It's very simple. But, you know, if anyone's ever come to City Hall and asked me or Rob or anyone for a map, yeah, good luck with that. I have the best zoning map in the city, and we don't have the masters or any way to reduce it down to size that's usable. We have some really cruddy maps from our master plans. Once we have a GIS system, that particular map, which is of high interest to us as we talk about things like an annexation committee and charter reviews and everything else, having an accurate zoning map is important. Being able to map the water system, you know, and the sewer systems, and have a usable database that's created from that. These are all crucial things. We anticipate that those will fall well, you know, within the budgets for those enterprises. But for the general fund, nothing exciting. The management teams have been working very hard, and you know, I've been pushing this mantra, if you will, to do more with less. And this next year will not be any different, at least in our proposals. In my report that I send to you tomorrow, if council has any particular project ideas, I think, you know, those bear discussion, but the fact is that there's not more money. Yes, we're doing well with sales tax this year. We had a really good July. I don't know if anyone saw the stock market this week. The 4th largest drop in the history of the stock market since the Great Depression in one day. That's pretty severe. You know, our finance director and I follow a lot of economic trends. And, you know, 3 weeks ago, we were at a meeting with folks that we invest with, and they're like, oh, there's a 51% chance of recession, which we got a good laugh out of. It sounded like a weather forecast. But in the 3 weeks that have ensued since then, things have gone pretty awry. The long and short-term bond markets have flipped, which is not a great indicator of a robust economy. It's not saying the economy's bad, But when short-term yields exceed long-term yields, that's a reversal, and that usually foreshadows a recession. And, you know, you all know this better that have been in the valley longer than I am, but I know in rural communities, if there's a recession, in rural communities, it usually trails. So if there's a recession next year, and I hope there's not, but if there is, our impact of that will trail, and the duration usually is 75 to 100% longer than it is in the big cities. So we are taking an incredibly cautious and we believe fiscally responsible approach to that. And I guess what I'm saying there is, you know, certainly you're going to see the drafts, and we will work with you on it. But we don't see any room for anything particularly grand. We're going to do the people's business to get it done in the most efficient way we can, and we look forward to working through that process this year. We are pushing to get the budget done earlier this year. You know, because honestly, my opinion right now is it's simpler. You know, there's not a lot of wiggle room. So that's my soapbox about that, which wasn't in my report. I did attend the SLV Economic Summit, as did Councilor Johnson. It was very interesting. There were some good presentations on, you know, the hemp industry and some other local businesses that are taking off. And the hemp industry thing was very illuminating beyond things that I knew about it. You know, and obviously there's CBD oil, and that's a big thing right now, but the real reach is into industrials and other uses of the product, and that's to come. I think if you all drive by Formation Ag's yard right now, there's hemp harvesting machines sitting in the front that are ready to get delivered to, I guess we'll call it Eastern Europe, Lithuania. They just sent their first one there. And then I learned more about, they actually have a deal with a distributor in Eastern Europe. So they'll be shipping many more units there. And it's a big deal. You think about internationally, hemp, you know, is a bigger deal in Europe already, and these guys made and patented a piece of machinery that is in demand over there. And that's in our community. May not be in the city limits, but they're right there, and that's pretty exciting. So I also met with Catherine Carell, who's with Downtown Colorado Inc., which the city is a member of. And they're actually doing a project with Center right now that's pretty interesting. And I think that we're going to get more into that in our budget process. And it really can bring some different economic development tools to the community. So I will get you more detail on that as we go along. But that was a great sidebar meeting. There happened to be a week of really good sidebar meetings. The Sky High, the Friends of Sky High, as you all know, we enacted that contract. They've already made the first draw. The designs are coming along very well. Not just my opinion, but everyone that's involved is very happy with the iterations, and I will say that both Alcon and Spencer Architecture are very responsive to the discussions we've had, and we've actually got the design to something I think is very workable, and Alcon's going to start putting the numbers to it, and we'll see how workable it is. But it does feature conference and meeting rooms, as well as, you know, a great open space to replace the current multi-purpose building. And they really just have paid attention to some really small design cues that I think will be important, and hopefully in a month that might be for the public to see. But it is pretty exciting. Also attended the XL luncheon and got to meet Alice Jackson, who's the president of XL Energy Colorado. And of course, I took questions, and I had to raise my hand and say we need more power, which most people in rural Colorado say, and they're trying to work on it, and they're like, you know, your community is going to have to help us if we can get more power to the valley. She was a very fascinating speaker, because there's all kinds of things going on in the energy industry. You know, they're a provider, not a researcher, but she talked about some things that are going on that are maybe pretty landmark. You know, battery storage is really changing, and that could really have a positive effect on our solar energy industry, keeping some of that power overnight in the valley. So more to come on that, but it was pretty darn interesting. I also met with Andrew Ashley, who's the Division of Housing representative for DOLA Division of Housing, and he is resident in the Valley for Southern Colorado, and he actually lives here in the Valley. And we had a really good discussion about not only the URA's program, but Division of Housing, and I can't cite the actual legislation from the state, but Division of Housing will be getting more directed funds, substantial amount more directed funds. And they've always kind of piggybacked on with DOLA, but this legislation created an actual, and I didn't get the actual details, other than next year they should have $70 million more in actual Division of Housing funds. And they're very interested in rural communities. So we had a discussion about the, kind of landmark program the URA has, which we've struggled with, partly due to the funding source with the CDBG, and state funds have less regulations. So we had a really good discussion about that. And I told them I'd be happy to go up and talk to anybody in Denver about replicating that program using their funding, and maybe we could change ours out. So that was pretty interesting. National Night Out was really great, and great job, Chief and Kathy, and it was a lot of fun. Bob and I got our little smoke inhalation going. We'll make a few changes in the layout next year, but it was a great turnout, and everyone did a great job, and I think we had a lot of fun. Maybe the last thing on here is our bird remediation project is moving forward. Most of the control measures have been taken, and the cleaning has been undertaken this week. So we still have one piece of the project left, which is capping that big chimney. And I think today, hopefully I got a line on some masons that actually might be willing to do it. Weren't really able to locate anyone from the valley, but Alcom was very helpful in getting me some contacts, and I talked to some folks today, and I'm hoping we'll be able to come do it, because there's a big cap that goes on there, but that crown needs to be repaired. And if these folks come up, the cap is actually, we have it stored. So the contractor come back, finish that up, we will have done away with the waste issue and the health hazards. So we're very excited about that. Other than that, I want to thank you all for stepping up on the tax initiative. I think it's very important for, we just talked about a paving project. And, an additional, in the first year, if it's approved by the voters, and I will have the caveat, the first year, there won't be additional funding. The funding begins to be collected in January of 2020 if the voters approve it. So, being fiscally conservative, we will not allocate any of those funds until 2021. There's a citizens committee to be set up and all those things, and we'll make sure that we follow all the steps to do that. The ordinance actually creates an independent singular fund, which I've already worked with Jenny Signs on. We'll have that set up. It will be a dedicated fund with only those stated purposes. So I think, from the street paving, so $100,000 helps boost that, along with the water and sewer projects that would be incumbent of that. Will really help out with the police department. And then the Sky High part is, I think, really crucial. The Friends of Sky High will be raising funds for the project. We'll also participate with them on grants and those kind of things. But this fund also creates a dedicated maintenance funding mechanism for the facility. And that's always been a difficult thing for the city to achieve. So that would be created, and obviously as sales tax increases, that maintenance fund will increase. So it actually follows really nicely the ongoing maintenance and operations plan. It would also fund our recreational programming, if you will. And one of the things that I've been working with Jaime on a little bit, and the architects, is that in order to make that the most useful, you really need, there's all these great products where you can put down a basketball court, and then you're going to have Crane Fest, and you can pick up the basketball court, store it. They're basically tiles, really a lot of good products there. But those kind of products, so we get the most use out of it for volleyball and basketball, and things like Crane Fest and the Ag Conference and Stampede. So it'll become a very versatile facility. And the addition of the meeting space, if you will, it's really community space. So if somebody wants to have, say, a wedding reception or something, there will be, in the current iteration, there's one room that is about 8,500 square feet. And then there's 3 smaller meeting rooms. So it'll enhance the ability of that facility to provide things for our community. So it's all, really exciting, and I think I've probably thrown on enough, but this is a really, really interesting and exciting time for our city. I think that we have a lot of opportunities, and, I feel like we're in a really good place as long as the city remains fiscally conservative. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to take those. Otherwise, I appreciate your time.
Actually, the part you mentioned about the Colorado DOH is something I've been reading about, and I'm glad to hear some input about that. I need to know some more, but it's one of the most exciting things going on that could be very productive here in the valley, in our town, in terms of housing, which is, as things continue to grow, we're going to need, because we don't have that right now. So, yeah, I appreciate bringing that up, and I'd like to dig into that some more, so we can do that.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Forrest.
Good evening, everybody. Pretty straightforward. Did I get into the packet? I know I was slow, so sorry. Thank you. Coffee with a Cop made some changes. I talked a little bit last month about thinking that a coffee shop is a much better venue than a restaurant. And so I talked to Rain Brews, and as of October 2nd, we'll be having Coffee with a Cop there. We're going to skip September, and October is the National Coffee with a Cop date. We're going to move it back to Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month, October 2nd, Rain Brews, 8 to 10. So that would be awesome to have you there. And everybody listening out there, Neighborhood Watch, this is our off month because of National Night Out, which I do think went really well. Thank you all for being there. It was really great to see everybody. I actually got to see everybody. Sometimes I don't even know if you're there or not. There's just so much going on. It was pretty busy. A lot of really good things happening. But we'll resume our normal schedule in September, which will be the 16th of September at the Information Center at the Chamber. I want to remind everybody, Crime Stoppers is still doing a raffle for a rifle. I know you need some tickets, Rob. You haven't come and seen you. See Kathy, she's got some to sell. We're going to give away that rifle on October 31st, Halloween. So make sure you get your tickets for that. National Night Out, I just, again, wanted to thank you guys, but if you had any kind of comments, I just wanted to put that on the agenda to remind me to talk about it. Thank you, Forrest, for doing that as well. And just thank you for everybody that made it possible. It wasn't just a police department function, it was a city function and a council function. And I was really happy with the vendors and how much participation. We had a couple no-shows again, which was kind of a bummer, but it's a busy night with fair going on and everything else, but generally speaking, way to go. I think we made a statement again about each other and safety and first responders, and so I think generally speaking, it was a huge success. Anything on National Night Out?
I heard lots of really good comments. People would come through the line and say, I've never been in a town where they did this. You guys are so lucky. We live in Texas and they don't do that there. And I said, well, they probably are, but it was just all very positive. And the animal shelter actually got a very nice donation that night. So,
Good.
yeah.
Very good.
Very nice.
And I think the one thing I noticed, I saw different faces
Mm-hmm.
than
I did
last
too.
year.
Agreed.
Yeah, so that was cool.
I had a lot of, I saw some Facebook posts and some emails too that were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot. So I do think there could have even been more people there, but again, there was a lot going on. It's a Tuesday night, you get in your habit, you come home and you flop down after work, and that might be it. But still, a lot of people did make the trip. So from the perspective of the Canine Fund, I talked a little bit about the Outdoor Depot fundraiser last month and how well that went. I think it was just right at $5,000 total between Crime Stoppers and the Canine Fund. We then did, Officer Cisneros put together his golf tournament. Man, what a blast that was. But not only was it fun, we actually made some money, which was really cool too. Our overall net cash fund balance was $3,144 for the day, and there was $1,308 in non-cash donations for prizes, gifts back to the golf course. So it was really a really cool effort of over just about $4,400, and we had a lot of fun. And I'll go through them fast, but I wanted to thank our sponsors, Monte Vista Golf Course especially, Heart of the Valley, Wright Oaks, Rio Grande Club and Resort, Quincy's, Wilbur Ellis, Lori Carp Prince. She donated her condo up in South Fork. It's really neat. Rio Grande Savings and Loan, Comfort Zone Insulation, Highland Enterprise, Paulson and Sons, Quadruple A Self Storage, Baldo's, Scott Wolf and Local Farms, Southern Colorado Computer Services, the Colorado Rockies, and Fossil Trace Golf Course. Pretty good for the first year. So super proud of Officer Cisneros. And the overall, I think it was 18th of November we started this fund. We got some money from the Alcott Foundation. We had $15,000 from El Pomar to start the program, but I was a little concerned about where we were going to go with it because of a budget that doesn't really allow for a canine program. So as of now, from the 18th of November of last year, we've raised $20,019. So that's pretty cool in about 9 months. So if we can keep that up, I think we'll keep a canine program. And then the city's doing a lot as well. So between overtime training, maintaining the vehicles, the staff's salaries, so you guys are doing a lot as well. But that's a pretty nice line item to have behind the scenes. Stampede. We didn't talk a lot about it. I don't think there's a lot of negative to be said about it. I think it went really well again. You know, we had really good, I think, cooperation between Public Works and any other city entity that was involved with the police force. We do want to be able to work better with Stampede Committee in the future, but generally speaking, from your perspective, what did you guys think?
I thought it was one of the quieter stampedes. I mean, I didn't see a lot of, big action or people pulled over or, well, it was very good. Your presence was great, the police presence was great. I thought it was a very nice stampede.
I thought the same thing because we live in that area and it was much quieter. And how or why that happened, I don't know. I imagine it has to do with police presence, but it just, it was quiet and very enjoyable.
Good. I think we're learning. Every year we do something a little better, but yet I'm a little nervous because the 100th anniversary is coming. I don't know what potential that might bring with an act that might just blow what we know out of the water. I think I heard, I forgot the name, but I think they were around 8,000 at their record-breaking act, and we were around 4,000 with this act. So it makes me a little nervous about what could be, so I'm glad we're doing well with what we have, and we'll continue to prepare for that, and hopefully we'll have just better and better relations with not only the facility, but the committees and everything else. And the parade is actually really enjoyable. I know it drives Rob and I crazy, but you can see people having fun. I wish we could figure out a route, so once it was done, but having a circle makes it a mess. And I don't know if there's anything we can do about that, but generally speaking, I thought everybody had a ball, and it was the Saturday parade was really well attended. There was people everywhere, and a lot of floats, so pretty neat. Just the statistics, if you have the form there in front of you, July was busy. So last month it was just over 1,000 calls for service and contacts. This is just under 1,400, so almost 400 more calls and or contacts. Summons jumped up quite a bit too. A lot of that was click it or ticket and some DUI enforcement. So we are almost at 1,000 for the year. And that was the day I pulled it, so like the 12th. And I think last year was right around 1,500 for the year, and we're at 1,000 right now. So they're busy, they're active, they're busy, they're proactive, and that's really kind of encouraging. And on the flip side of that, I think we're making a dent in some things because we're at 20 burglaries as of that same date, which I think was the 12th, and that's well below the 5-year average significantly. I hate to even say that because it seems like I jinx myself every time I do. But we're also at a 70% clearance rate on burglaries. So 7 out of 10 we solve. And that's probably helping that number. When you go unsolved, there seems to be no reason not to break into somebody's house. But when there's some sort of consequence, that seems to help. I thought this was just pertinent to always our discussions about youth and how we can affect youth. David is on vacation. David Pino's on vacation for the first 2 weeks of school. It just worked out that way. We didn't probably plan ahead as well as we should. But he's officially going to be 20 hours in the 5 schools that the district here in Monte Vista has for this year. You know, thank you for DeForest for that commitment, and thank you for the schools as well. They've stepped up. He has an office, he has a computer, he has a locker. There might even be some funding coming. So I think it was one of those times where just two agency heads had to say, okay, we're just going to do this, and then build it, and they will come, kind of thing. And so far, so good. He hasn't actually put boots on the ground. He was there with the week of the teachers and the prep, but now that the kids are there, it'll probably be rough on him because they'll be used to it a week or two, and then his first day at school will be in a week or two, so that'll be kind of rough on him. But I thought it was really timely when I saw an email from CDOT that youth deaths in traffic crashes are significantly up. The graduated driver's license program started in '99, and it was designed because we know how easily distracted and the lack of focus that most young people have. And I see it quite a bit, and I'm often not either in the position to make a stop or I'm in the wrong car. But I think we really kind of need to remember in rural areas we're probably really bad about following the rules as far as some of this goes. And here's why I say that, because that first person to drive makes a huge difference on the burden of the family. Whether they are shuttling kids or picking up groceries, that's all really, really great. But I think one thing we forget is one of the graduated driver's license rules forbids passengers for the first 6 months, pretty much period, under 21. So there can be no young adult or teenager or child in that car with those new drivers. And then after 6 months, it's only 1. And then it also bans cell phones of any kind, any use at all, until the driver's 18, and makes not buckling up primary stop, whether it be the driver or anyone else in the car, all throughout the car. So again, it's trying to get those drivers to have less distractions because they are so easily distracted. So hopefully everyone out there kind of keeps that in mind, because I know how easy it is to either not have your driver out there properly before they're actually licensed, because they're doing this whole kind of phase where they're in their probationary status, where they're supposed to have an adult and a licensed driver. I know that's easy to do, and I also know it's easy to break the rules, because it's awful nice to be able to call your son or daughter on the phone and say, hey, pick up this, while they're going down the road. They're not even supposed to have that phone on. So kind of remember those rules are pretty stringent, but the #1 cause of death throughout the entire country of people under 25 is car crashes. That's the highest thing, that the biggest damage to those young people are their own selves in the car. Administratively, we kind of in a little bit of a struggle. We had a couple resignations. We have some movement in the department. Some of it's just, I guess, how it goes, and some of it is just had a little bit of trouble with training on a new guy, but we'll work through it. We're in an active hiring process, so I'll kind of let you know how that goes. And then we're in a little bit of a flux with code enforcement as well. So Margot, I am always watching Sonic. We had an interesting, so there's without giving names or location, there's a spot out there where we were really pretty kid gloves, like Sonic, you know, trying to get them to work through things, and it was kind of working. And I think Patrick and I finally got upset with this individual property, and we ended up citing a ticket. Well, that ticket takes 30+ days to get to court, and since that time, that property actually went the other way. It regressed. It's worse than it was when we wrote the ticket. And it's tough on us, it's tough on the courts. There's only so much muscle the courts have. Fines only do so much good when you have money and you have the fear of the fact that you're gonna have to pay. So while I know it is frustrating to see the movement at a snail's pace at times, it actually seems to go, and Patrick and I had a long talk about this, it actually seems to go in our favor to work with them as long as we can stand it, as opposed to jumping to the enforcement piece, you know, and bringing out the hammer. And it was, and Sonic was kind of one of those particular, he ebbs and flows, you know, he'll do quite a bit and he won't do anything for a long time. If we just keep pushing, as opposed to maybe citing him in the court and going through that process, and he just doesn't do anything. So it's interesting. It's not an answer, but it is at least a discussion that we've had, and we've seen, especially with the weeds. Gotta love the rain, but man, we really got blasted with the weeds. Pretty much overnight, it seems like everything Rob did for Stampede is undone already. Pretty much undone. So that's my report. It's all very good and very, I think, helpful for the most part. I really appreciate your support. And if you have any questions, fire away. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
My report. I'm glad Stampede's over. I really think, I mean, while we spent most of July trying to get the city ready for Stampede, I really think the event in itself was a success. There were some things that were unfortunate, but I don't think they really subtracted too much from the event. One of the things is the carnival folks moved in way earlier than what was expected. So that prevented us from doing some of the work that I wanted to do on the playground, on the Sky High facility. Usually we go and cut the weeds, and then right before Stampede, we grade that entire area where the carnival's gonna be, so people aren't having to walk through weeds. And they came in so early, we were still working on the parade route, that we never actually got to do that. So that was kind of an unfortunate. But overall, I thought it was a good thing. Unfortunately, the carnival folks left us a little mess that we still gonna have to clean up. You guys have some pictures. Last year, they left a couple trash dumpsters, some 5 and 7 yards trash dumpsters by the softball fields. This year, they did some work on their truck, and they left 7 semi-tires, 2 pickup tires, and 2 broken semi-rims up against the fence there in front of Public Works. So we're gonna have to clean that up and take those to the landfill and pay to get rid of those. So unfortunately, that was the only bad thing. Like I said, I think Chief said it best, is we really want to continue better establishing a relationship with the Stampede Committee. I know they work extremely hard on that event, and we all want to help them make that event as successful as we possibly can. And I think we can do a better job with just a little more communication, and maybe just some earlier discussions as to when things are happening, so we can plan better to kind of accommodate and see what their needs and their desires are, and how we can accommodate those, and then they can hear some of our concerns, and maybe they can help us alleviate those concerns before they even become concerns. Next thing, I just wanted to thank the mayor and city council for the proclamation last meeting. That was extremely nice. Thank you. The crew really appreciated that. have some people after Stampede take some vacation, so you didn't get the entire crew, but everybody really appreciates it. It's really nice to hear, so thank you. Parks continually to be extremely busy. Everything, the seasonals are working out really good. One of the things that hasn't happened before, but this year, I really was surprised that as people walked through the lines, I had a lot of folks stop and compliment us on the way the parks were looking and specifically how the seasonals are actually working out this year. A lot of compliments on, because they're fairly young, and you know, it's really good when you hear a young person getting talked up about how professional and how kind and just how nice they are. So it really made me very proud for those young guys. So very happy with what they're doing. Thing for Nikki, I thought she did a really good job kind of emceeing things. It was very clear. She was entertaining, so it was good. So on the streets, I gotta tell you, Lowell is a slave driver. He is driving those guys hard, but we're getting a lot of things done. We've been, for most of this month, been working on the 160 corridor, cleaning up deadfall and trying to clean up some of the trees. They've been working over in front of Marsh for the last 3 days. I'm a little worried about those trees right there, from where that little little half circle is down to the Memorial Park. They're pulling out a lot of dead. And being that close to a school zone, I'm really gonna start watching those trees really close. Because if you look at them, they look all right, but then as you get in there closer, a lot of stuff on the top is dead. And then you start seeing more and more, which is pretty much an indicator of some sort of a disease. There's a distress going on in those trees. So I'm really gonna start watching those very, very carefully. We are got some patching scheduled, and I'm gonna try something a little different on Morse. And I'm probably gonna do a couple of streets right in that area, whatever the sweeper can get done in a day. But I'm gonna send notice to the newspaper and on the radios saying on this date, we're gonna come in and do these 3 streets or 2 streets and see if we can get more cars to actually get off of the street. Try to do it nice. We're not having enforcement from the PD or anything, but see how many we can do. And if that helps, I think what we'll do in the spring and in the fall, we'll just do every street like that. We'll pick some days and we'll just notice it, and then people can look at the newspaper, hear it on the radio. Oh yeah, you know, September 16th, they're gonna be on my street. I need to park my car somewhere outside of the street, back in my driveway or something. So the sweeper can get a complete pass down and try to clean it up. Because right now, especially in the residentials, we don't get half a block done, really. I mean, it's really hit and miss as to what we can do and what we can clean up. So we're gonna try that and see how that works. On the utilities, they've been working on some projects. I'm really proud of those guys. Believe it or not, since Stampede to today, we have repaired 2 water leaks, and in both instances, no one other than the person that was actually leaking was actually impacted. So nobody in town knew we were out. That is about as perfect a scenario as you can get. No businesses, no other property owners other than the individual that was experiencing the leak had any sort of water outage. So kudos to them. They kind of thought a little bit outside the block, out of the box, and instead of just shutting valves off, they went ahead and dug a little 4-foot hole, found where the actual cork was, turned it off at the main, let the main continue to run, fixed the water leak, went back over to the cork, turned it back on, life was good. So, can't do that in all situations, but I am really liking the way they're starting to think and try to figure out ways to minimize impacts on the populace as it really good, and really proud of those guys and the things they're doing. We are also actively doing some more training. I got with Bob Abay, the supervisor, and I told him that every time we have a leak, somebody else digs. And that gives, because right now we have 2 operators that are fairly good on the backhoe, everybody else is a little shaky. And my goal is to have everybody at least to a level that no matter what the job is, they feel comfortable going out. Because unfortunately, when you're digging a water line, you're also digging around gas lines, and in some areas of town, underground electrical, phone lines. So it's not really easy. You have to pay attention, you have to kind of know what you're doing, you have to know what the machine's capable of. And like I said, right now we have 2 operators that I'm comfortable in all situations that they can dig, and if they happen to be on vacation or out sick, we're a little limited as what we can do. So we're doing this training to get everybody else up to a skill set, and I think in the long run for our department, that's really gonna pay us dividends. So we're doing it in the utilities, we're gonna start working on the streets with that. Wastewater plant has been pretty much doing their stuff. Michael is really pushing on the backflows. That is a federal mandate that we have to have. It affects only commercial businesses. We still get some pushback from some of the commercial businesses, but he's been doing a really good job. It's not in my report, but I think it's something you guys need to know. Unfortunately, our wastewater plant at the Veterans Plant, which is actually in the county, in the last 3 weeks has been targeted twice for burglaries. The area is fenced off and locked every night. So we're not sure if they're getting in by walking or not, but they've actually gone in, and the first time they stole a Craftsman's toolbox out of the back of the truck, and then just this week, Monday, we had moved everything into our shed and locked it, and they completely shattered the lock and the door, and they got in, they got a couple of weeks. So, been working with Rio Grande County Sheriffs because it is in the county, and we're taking some steps to try to eliminate that. But like I said, none of it's super high dollar. It is unfortunate, it's a couple $100 each time, so that's too bad. Chief alluded to our maintenance. We're a little short in the maintenance side. We lost our mechanic a little while ago and offered the job to Patrick. I know it impacts both Forrest and the chief, but I think with his skill set, as far as in the realm of mechanics, I know he's a great code enforcement, but I really think he has the skills to bring our fleet up, especially as the chief and myself are bringing in newer machines. That experience that he has through Stevenson is, and I think you've already seen it, it pays dividends. And we need somebody that has the computer knowledge and the knowledge of the new, diagnostics and stuff to really keep our fleet as top notch as we can, especially with budget. We're not going in and we're not replacing our fleet every 7 years or anything of that nature. So we really need to be there. So I'm happy that he's coming on. We're trying to postpone his starting as a full-time to get everybody through the summer as far as code enforcement, so we can continue to do that until the end of September. So we're looking forward to that when he can actually start full-time. My corner, I've been pretty much just working really hard with the engineers on getting these projects. Earlier tonight was a street project. We have our sewer project, which isn't going to impact anybody in town, but the main trunk line that feeds veterans goes over the Monte Vista Canal, and it's deteriorated really badly, where you can actually see through the top of the pipe. It's bad. So that project's been going on. We've made contact with the ditch owners or the people that control the ditch, got their permission. Department of Water Resources It's currently with the structural engineers, so that'll be coming for you, I'm hoping within a month, that we'll have that ready to go. So, working on that, and that'll kind of get our projects done for this year. As Forrest alluded to, we're still working on next year's budget. I had to thank you for entertaining that meeting. I know that was long. We had a working lunch meeting to go through everything water and sewer related, not only for 2020 budget, but different regulations and what those potentials can mean to our budgets, depending on how they come down. So it was a good meeting. It was a long meeting, but it was good. And I think something that the city manager and the finance director needed to hear from the engineers instead of me. Today, I had a conference call after our meeting with the engineers with Madison of GOCO, and we talked specifically about the splash park. I talked to you guys about that. My original idea was to apply for a planning grant next year. And as we went through that conversation, they changed the due dates on the planning grant, so the planning grant wouldn't be awarded until about midsummer. But she said that right now, as the grants are so competitive, that the average is only a 50% approval rating on the first shot. So she gave me this timeline. Expect 3 years to actually obtain and complete a planning grant, 3 to 6 years for a construction grant, and 3 years if we go ahead and apply for an LPOR grant, which is a construction grant. The skate park was actually a design-build LPR. So if you guys don't have any issues with that, I think I'd like to change my plan and go forward with the big grant and see what we can get. I don't know, I haven't, like I said, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, but it just, in my mind, I was thinking a 3-year planning, construction, 3-year out. I'm not really comfortable trying to push this out to 6 years. So if we can go ahead and plan, probably wouldn't get it next year, but if we can plan, and then, you know, second round, we might get it. I'd also like to go ahead and put an article in the paper asking for kind of a citizens group to get together. I had a very nice lady stop me while we were flipping burgers and said she would be willing to help us with a grant. She's a grant writer, retired. She would love to just help with that grant. So I'd like to try to make contact with her and just see if there's anybody else. I fully plan, if we can do this, look at some of the concrete suppliers here and some of the other folks to see if they would be willing to come in, work on the ground floor, and maybe we'd be willing to come up with some in-kind where it really doesn't cost the city a whole lot of money out of pocket. So if you guys are okay with that, I'd like to throw that article in the paper and see what we can push. And that's the end of it. So if I can answer any questions you might have.
Not one, sounds like you've been very busy.
Your response.
Maybe fall will be
I was
better
gonna
for
say,
you.
my desk looks like a hurricane through it right now, but, yeah, so we're moving, and everything's kind of snowballing right now, so
Yeah, it's a busy time.
it is, so, thank you.
I was curious, what, have you thought more about the snow removal
Mhm.
plan? Because it's coming.
Plan on bringing that to you in September.
Very good.
So the idea is I want to bring everything to you guys in September, present, and then first meeting in October, actually have a plan for you guys to adopt. I think from remember we did that survey monkey, and from that it's pretty clear what our citizens want. I'm not sure I'm totally in favor of that, but if council and the citizens all pretty much agreed that they would be willing to pay a $2 fee for snow removal, and if they do that, that eliminates my biggest concern as far as having to hire a contractor to haul snow. I will specifically say, the emergency services, especially the fire department, are dead set against having the snow plowed to the center. And they have very good reason, and I share that sentiment, because I know the poor police department's going to get several calls because somebody's stuck up on top of a berm in the center of the street and got both sides of their road blocked. I will guarantee that will happen more times than the chief has fingers in the very first big snowstorm we get. So.
No, I know Chief Sullivan has concerns about it.
He has severe concerns
And
about that.
I respect his.
I do too.
his
And he's
thoughts and his
driving very
opinions.
large trucks, and they need to get to a site, especially, you know, winter, biggest thing in this area, chimney fires.
Yeah.
And they need to get there quickly, and if they can't actually make the turn, we've done an injustice to our citizens.
Well, especially if it causes harm to somebody, that's.
Or
that
even get
means-
down the street.
Yeah.
I know sometimes if you have a car parked and there's a pile of snow in the center, you can't even get
No,
down the
and
street
that's-
with a
and
big
that's what we're
vehicle.
gonna do. It's gonna cause
Yeah,
us to
it's a
have
problem.
more work, because we're gonna have to push that snow back and get it far enough back that people can actually have turning movements and seeing. I mean, it's not, it wouldn't be uncommon in a high, you know, if we get
Right.
10 inches or 12 inches of snow, that windrow in the center, especially like Second, where the right-of-way is 80 feet, it's gonna be about that tall.
Yeah.
And a person in a little Honda or a little small car is not gonna see anything but snow. So, like I said, I'll bring that to you,
Thank
let you guys have the data, give you some ideas and some alternatives, and we'll go with what you think. Because the citizens say one thing, emergency services are saying else, and I unfortunately kind of agree with the emergency services. So,
Rob, one
Yes, sir.
thing, just since you mentioned street cleaning, and then getting that announced in the paper and that kind of thing, because that, the issue, obviously, when you're pushing it to the curb, is the cars are all there.
Mhm.
There's some way of limiting that.
one of the things that we discussed earlier is if we push it initially to the center, we can come back and say, on odd days, you park on this side of the street, on even days, you park on this side of the street, and that always leaves us one area where we can plow snow all the way to the curb. We could try something like that to actually get the citizenry 100% to
Yeah.
do it. It's probably slim.
Whatever it takes. I know. I
And
have
it
to
really,
park
I
on-
mean, last year was, I won't say a rare snowstorm, or, you know, in the snow season, but it was a deeper snow season than what we have seen in 5, 6
20 years.
years, easy, yeah, you know. So, I mean, to expect that again this year, I would love to see that kind of snowpack, because we need it. But at the same token, I'm not counting on that.
Well, it sounds like you've already given some thought to figuring out, I didn't thought about that on one side or the other, but.
Yeah, that's one thing you can do.
Obviously, in the center isn't working.
Yeah, because,
so-
I mean, there's not enough, a lot of communities have rules where you're not allowed to park on the street during a snowstorm.
Yeah,
But that puts a lot of pressure on the police department because they have to enforce it. In the downtown, I really want to push that. There's enough parking, public parking areas that those folks that do live in the downtown, there's no reason they should be in those streets. We should have enough time during the evenings to come in, plow those streets, and remove that snow so the next morning, when businesses are supposed to be open, they're not having to deal with the snow. We can't do that when there's 8 to 10 cars per block in the downtown. It just can't happen. So, Adams, North and South Adams is just, it's impossible.
It's pretty hard to please everybody.
And you're not. And snow removal is one of those, you're never gonna please everyone.
Yeah.
And we do live in Colorado,
Well,
and
what
I've
it's
lived,
supposed to
I
do.
lived where and plowed where you got, we didn't count snow in inches. It was in feet.
Be glad we don't live in Wisconsin.
Right.
So,
And it was, what we put in front of you, so sorry, you move it. But I'll bring that all to you September. And
Thanks,
the
Rob.
idea is to have it approved, or at least in front of you by October, before the snow flies. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Good evening, council. So, I'm gonna start out with Forrest's statement. Please get out your calendars. I want to start off with thanking you for approving the resolution and the draft ordinance this evening. And with that being said, I'd like to hand each one of you some of the flyers.
Right.
As you know, staff is not allowed to push this out. We are allowed to supply information to council. We are also allowed to supply the information to the public, but staff is not allowed to push that out. With that, the reason I asked for you to get your calendars out, Potato Fest is coming up. I did go ahead and get a booth for Potato Fest. I've made a schedule for each of you. So on September 7th, I have 5 shifts for the booth. So each of you So I set it up where each of you wouldn't have to be there for more than an hour and a half. So if they open, we'll set up, I'll go and set up the booth at 7. You can be there at 7:30, so I have Kathy, you have the first shift from 7:30 to 9. And then second shift is Victor from 9 to 11, and then Dale from 11 to 1, Kathleen from 1 to 3, and Gary from 3 to 4. That way the booth is covered all day. I will come in and out, my deputy clerk will come in and out, make sure you have enough flyers. But I would like for all of council to commit to this. You've all agreed to approve this, and now we're asking that you please get the word out to the citizens. Also, citizens, if you're interested, we would like to get some citizen groups together to help push this out. You've been voluntold.
This is gonna be at Chapman Park.
Yes, this is at Chapman Park.
about this to my friends.
Perfect.
Got a girl.
So Chapman Park it's September 7th at Chapman Park for the Potato Fest. Like I said, I'll make sure that the booth is ready for you. You'll have all the information there that you need. The other calendar item is September 24th from 4 to 8 is the Fall District 8 meeting for CML in San Luis. I need to know if any of you want to attend, and I need to know by the first part of September. So that is the September 24th from 4 to 8. So I'll need to know confirmation by the 1st of September if any of you are wanting to go to that. And that's all I have this evening. I've been working on election information. I did have 6 people pick up packets at National Night Out, so thank you for letting me have that booth there. It turned out great. The way we set it up, it was great because they had to walk right in front of the booth in order to get their ticket for food. So it worked out really good. So I do have 6 packets out. I do not have any potential candidates at this time. So they have until Tuesday at 5 p.m. to turn in their affidavits. So, any questions for me?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I might just add something, we're hoping that National Night Out, Neighborhood Watch would be very activated on this tax election, particularly with the tie-in to the police department.
Do you have a digital copy of this? that can
Indeed.
go out? If you
Yes.
could share that,
We'll do that.
I'm gonna get that out.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. Gonna keep this one pretty brief. Mostly focusing on revitalizing the network infrastructure, securing as much as we could. We have, we're currently started on, or we'll continue working on securing the Wi-Fi access, which was already secured, but we're introducing new firmwares to keep on that leading edge of security standards. So we're working on that. Of course, as we've been going through budget meetings, we have a lot of ideas going on, more security cameras, likely phone system project is coming closer and closer. We were able to, and I think I had touched on this last meeting, was the surveillance equipment at the skate park. We were successfully able to get around a password that had been set on it that was forgotten. So we were able to reset the password and we were able to get into that system. We have a computer that was replaced, that we were able to replace at no cost to the city. We have essentially a rotating group of computers, and whatever gets rotated out will save and either repair or upgrade as needed to be able to replace a computer if something comes up without having to dip into next year's or whatever the next cycle is for that computer. And other than that, we had a pretty decently large update to Cassell on the back end of it. Also a program called eFile, which is a document management system. That was larger than a point upgrade. If this was going from version 7 of the software to version 15 of the software, so there's pretty big movement in that. Worked closely with Cassell with that. One of the big changes was Cassell had adopted the software wholly, which was originally a separate vendor that was creating software that coordinated and was compatible with Cassell, is now all under Cassell's roof. So it was a big change that we made there. Of course, the audio system here, we ran into some audio issues on the last meeting video. So if you saw the YouTube video, there's some spots that not quite clear. We're still trying to tweak the system to make sure that we're maximizing the clarity of the voices of people who are speaking, and try to reduce that background audio that can cause that muddled audio that you'd see in some of the YouTube videos. So we're experimenting with doing a fixed mic, a wired mic here, continuing to use wireless mics at the dais. So hopefully everything goes well and you'll be able to hear me loud and clear online. So other than that, updates and patches as usual. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Interesting. Right, something. But, all right, well, that's it. Thank you very much, council.
Thank you.
Brandon,
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for all the work you guys did with the Cassell, the documents. It's huge. I think I'm the only one that uses that. So I truly, truly appreciate all the work you guys did on that.
Well, thank you, we appreciate it. And I guess last thing, so I think we did, is the National Night Out for the last 2 years? And then the year before that was the City Services Fair. I was able to fly the drone again this year, so now I have pictures of that event over the last 3 years. I think it's pretty interesting. I'll see who I need to talk to get those out. But it's interesting to see how it's expanded. This year, once again, we helped out with the City of Alamosa, rented out the audio system, we were there again with the drone. So that was a lot of fun. Thank you for the sacrifice to the people behind the grill. You definitely put in blood, sweat, and tears for that, so I appreciate it very much. But it was a great event, so to all those who planned it, thank you. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Council committee, city commission, and councilor reports.
Yeah, it was just a few things. It was at a couple of very informative meetings that helped bring, well, me personally, up to date on some things that are going on. Our URGED meeting, led by our esteemed city manager, was very informative. And then the economic summit, which I think he alluded to, down in Alamosa, was the third annual economic summit, and it was very good. I was at the last one. I didn't make the first one, but the last previous year was extremely good, but this was even better. As Forrest mentioned, learned a lot about hemp was a big item, and farm-to-market products. There was a lot that I was aware of, but didn't have all of that detail. The other thing was not a meeting, but this magazine we all get, whatever it's called, CML Municipalities, I guess it's called, or whatever. That's where I was reading about the DOH housing, and I don't know if it's related to what Forrest brought up, but I did hear some more about that. But there's some, it's the last issue, I think, or the one just before, just to pass that on. If you haven't taken a look at it, it's all about housing, and I found that pretty enlightening. So it's worth, I know you've got that around somewhere, so it's worth taking a look at. I'll find out which issue that is and let you know. But other than that, all I can say is that these meetings, these summits, getting together, economic development, whatever it happens to be, and just in general, the things that are going on in the town and in the whole area, really in the whole valley. But what I'm paying attention to, obviously, is in Monte Vista, is very uplifting. It is. There's a lot of community participation going on in different areas, and some of the things that we've talked about for years are actually coming together. And it's exciting to see the reports from Public Works and the PD and everything that well, can't say everything, but it's way far and above beyond where it's been. I've only been here the last 6 years, and this is the best I've seen and the best that I've heard. A lot of it has to do with just attitude, which is something that has been a challenge all along. But the city seems to be pulling together. I don't think we're done with that work, but a lot of good news. So.
National Night Out was fun. You know, it was cool to see a lot of people there and enjoying themselves. I did miss last year, and I almost missed this year. Just like, I don't know who was saying, you know, you go home and, man, I was out. I was sleeping. And then I woke up and I was like, what time is it? Oh, I gotta go, let's go, you know. And so I was kind of sleepy, you know, and then I was like, man, I gotta go. Because I didn't want to miss it, you know. I really look forward to having that, to attending it this year. Public Works, it was awesome. The whole Stampede thing, you know, just seeing the city look good it feels good. You know, it feels good to be a part of the city and say, hey, you know, look, I live here. Kind of brings I know it makes me feel proud, and not just me, but I'm sure everybody else involved is in there too. So awesome, awesome job.
And I think I already said my little bit about National Night Out, so I'm not gonna take everybody's time up anymore. It was great.
Okay, and I have the official date and time for the celebration for the 100th anniversary of the library will be August 28th at 2 p.m. And so it's not going to be an extravaganza, but if you have time, I know the library board and staff would appreciate some faces there. There's going to be a dedication. There's been money donated by El Pomar, so it would be nice to have some people there to enjoy that. And I thought National Night Out was awesome, and thank you, Chief, and Rob and Forrest and all the staff for everything everyone did, because everyone really came together to make that a good night. And I think driving around town, I know other people have mentioned that, but I think Patrick's done a really good job as a code enforcement officer. And you drive around town and there's properties that haven't been taken care of in the past that maybe they don't have green lawns, but they're taken care of. They look clean, they look tidy, and it does add to the overall impression of the community, and that's really important.
Executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators under CRS Section 24-6-402, 4E.
So I make a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to the matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators under CRS Section 24-6-402, 4E.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. Is there any questions?
Counselor Ellithorpe,
Aye.
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala.
Aye.
Motion carries.